Mm, I can't hear you though. Let's see.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, it muted my live, so I don't know what is happening, but I have set up the whole thing. This is the first time I'm looking good with the hair. Uh, it's night, right? What's the time there?
Yeah, it's 4 o'clock.
Is that a Christmas tree which
Four
I
o'clock.
see in the background?
Yeah, small one, but there's a bigger one I have on that side as well.
I saw the reel. I saw the
Yeah.
reel. Yeah,
Mm.
cool. I think we should just go live. You wanna do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Here we are. Hey, hey, hey! I'm not sure if you were able to see the screen or not, but we are live. People are watching us, which we both are not new to.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I've stopped streaming. Like, obviously, when I started this podcast, so it again feels new coming back to you.
Yeah, same here, bro. I think right now I'm doing the Friday streams, but those are way more scripted. Like it's not fun like just random streams. But yeah, I haven't streamed in a while. I'm kind of missing it too.
I mean, I
Yeah.
love the Friday streams, especially the like. I was looking. I think we need timestamps on the whole streams because it's like
Yep.
there would
Yep.
be some fun jokes. The audience adds timestamp, which is a good thing.
Mm.
But
What's
yeah,
up to chat? Hello. Thank you all for joining.
back to the habit of chat is slow today. Generally, it is
Mm.
good. But no worries. I think people are getting like hanged on this whole thing. But yeah,
Mm.
how's the weather there? How's the weather? How much colder it is?
The weather right now is around 0 degrees. So last week it fell below zero, which means there was snow, lakes frozen, and everything. Now it's slightly above, which means it's just rainy. It looks like it's night, but it's actually just 4 o'clock right now. So yeah,
4 o'clock, like in the afternoon, or like afternoon 4 o'clock.
afternoon, afternoon 4 o'clock. Yeah, because the sun sets at 3:30 right now. So it takes a while getting used to it, but yes, that's the scene.
How do you? I mean, like it's again, it's a very new concept to me. Like going on there, but how
Yeah.
weird it weird it would be your like clock, right? Like you don't know what's happening, what's not happening, right?
Bro, like I'll give you one example, okay? Like just I think 1 or 2 weeks back, I was really working on something, 1 बज गए रात को 2 बज गए and I'm like in the zone, okay? 3-4 बजे तक काम कर रहे हैं and then finally when I went to sleep at 5, I slept, woke up at 1:30. I had a stream that day and I had only 2 hours of sunlight, bro, that day because I woke up at 1:30 and 3:30 tak it was
Oh
gone.
yeah,
So I have
now
to be
that
really careful because if I wake up in the afternoon by accident, right? Like I sleep
right.
really late, do an all nighter, you'll wake up and it's night because it's 2 o'clock. I mean, not 2 o'clock, 3:30 tak. Like so, I'm like, yeah, being very aware of that now.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, no, like I didn't even think on that way, right? Like that you don't get enough vitamin D and like the sunlight, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You gotta get up early and do this. Yeah, we
Mm,
have like a chat now. I was not watching chat, and I was like, why it's dead? But it's here. But
mm,
cool. So I won't take much of like we'll go to chat in the later stage, but we'll just go on with the
mm.
episode, right?
Awesome.
I don't think I need to do an introduction. People are aware, right? So I don't think that's needed. But for later, I'll say in a description and get that. But yeah, I
Mm.
think the one and the only question I have is, how did you become a designer?
Yes, I'm just posting in Discord as well, so we'll have
Yeah,
some more
yeah,
people join the live.
again.
How did I become a designer? Um, so this is a very interesting question because it seems like I've said the question. I've answered this multiple times on YouTube, but there's actually a lot that I've never ever talked about. And so, given that we're here, this should be a very interesting episode. I think at a very broad level, I did figure it out during college, but to
Hmm.
place the exact moment, right? I kind of so I went to JE coaching, 11th and 12th, right? So let's start there, because I think that's a relatable part of the story that a lot of us have to go through. Went to JE coaching, didn't really work out for me. 11, 12 preparing, wrote like 7 entrance exams, all engineering related, like literally 7. And I ended up getting a really good rank for Manipal. So I got like 500 something rank for Manipal, and so I was like, okay, that's where I'm going. And I wanted to, this was the first time I'm leaving home as well. So, grew up
Where?
in Bangalore mostly.
Oh, you're from Bangalore. Didn't knew
Yeah.
that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So not originally from Bangalore. My parents are from North India. So Meerut, Sonipat. But I have lived in Bangalore since 2003. So never really got to live in North India. Um, but I knew, okay, in Bangalore, this was back in 2009, I think I did my 10th or something like that. I knew I wanted to leave Bangalore, okay? So I knew I wanted to go live the hostel life, get away from home. I knew that for sure. So
Okay.
wrote 7 entrance exams, some really bad ranks, some good ones. Ended up going to Manipal. So I got a really good rank in that. And my dream was always to do computer science, because back then I had been playing around with a lot of stuff. You can't call it coding. Like, I was not that smart back in the day. Like, I had no idea what coding. Like, I couldn't even figure it out. Right? Like, I was at that level.
For the context, which year is this? 2000.
This is 2009, around 2009. So
Okay.
2009, I think, is when I was maybe 10th standard. And I really wanted to build apps. Like, but I was, see, I don't know whether I should call myself stupid or whatever. I was just not aware. I was just not aware that you could go online and learn. And उस time पे I don't think ज़्यादा resources होते भी थे. So I really wanted to do coding, really wanted to get into iOS. No clue how I could do it by myself. I was like, ठीक है, college will eventually help me figure that out. Got into Manipal, computer science. And my first year, now first year is a common year, like it's not computer science, they do physics, whatever.
Everything they teach you.
I ended up failing, bro. I ended up failing one subject. Okay. This was like electrical technology, basic electrical. And I got a back because of that in first year. And my GPA like was 6 point something out of 10. So I got a back in one, and everything else like really bad. Okay. And another, like, just a side note, is Manipal worked on a, even I don't know how it's today, but it worked on a cumulative type of scale. A cumulative, or let's just say that it wasn't an absolute scale, it was relative grading. So even if you have good marks, if everybody else does better than you, like, you're low. Anyway, really bad, okay, really bad first
Okay.
year. I'm like 6 something GPA. And that's kind of when I realized, bro, like it all just hit me there, where I was like, I thought college would help me figure it out. I thought I would just come here, start making iOS apps or whatever. Firstly, I don't have a MacBook. I can't run Xcode. I realized that like way later. And then I was like, with college, I am not confident at all that I'll be able to figure out something, right? Because my GPA was so low, no placement. So basically, I had a kind of awakening moment where I was like, bro, my life is not in my control. My entire childhood, I've kind of just been doing this JE game, like, bro, pehle ye kar do, fir ho jayega, JE mein hoke fir get a job. Like, I was very on a traditional path. Let me just say that.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that question, right? Like you got so
Yeah.
good marks in JE, right? Then you got in this college. Like how this first
Yeah.
year changed, right? Like that's was
Yeah. The thing is, I did not get good marks in JE and all this. Manipal, I did. I got a really good rank. But then, bro, like, I don't know. I guess I was just only good in my school or something. Like, I went there and I was really, really bad at studying. Like, it's not even that I didn't try, bro. I tried quite hard. And again, I gave myself that consolation. I was like, okay, it wasn't computer science, right? That was the actual reason. Because first year of engineering, you're supposed to do like common subjects.
right.
Um, Second year of computer science, bro, my GPA goes from 6 out of 10 to 7 out of 10. So not no crazy jump. Okay. So I'm like, bro, like, this is like, well, ठीक है, but it was 6.8. Let me just say that. I wasn't even 7, right?
Yeah, but on the first one,
So
you blame that okay, this was like I didn't want to study this and I got these marks. For second year, you had
yeah,
computer science, right?
yeah. But that's when I realized, bro, like, I don't have any excuses left. And that's when it was a very difficult moment of my life, because, having moved away from college for the first time, You're trying to figure it out. Matlab, you're just trying your best. And again, like college, it's a really fun environment, right? So having lots of fun, but there's always this dimag mein like, bro, placements aayenge and then baitna padega, and then the main game is still to get marks and stuff.
Get marks and
Um, so I had a really like a moment where I was like, dude, my life is not in my own control. I can't rely on anybody else. All my excuses have run out now. And during that time, the only thing that was keeping me sane was that I was slightly learning design on the side, right? Trying to do t-shirts, fests mein participate kar rahe the. So Varun Maya, I kind of knew him thoda sa from Bangalore, but he was like, we were really good friends in college, and we were like, let's make some money. And so he knew Photoshop already. So he actually was the first person to teach me Photoshop. But what we would do is we made laptop skins, we made skins for like scientific calculators, like an Iron Man skin and all this. Like we were doing a lot of physical design stuff, doing t-shirts, banners, posters. And around that time, I had my moment where I got my first freelance project. It was not a lot of money, but that sliver of hope, right? Like little bit of hope where I was like, even if nothing else is working out, it seems like I might have a place in design. Like I might be able to belong to something, might be able to achieve something. And it is going with my initial route of, I wanted to make apps, wanted to get into like tech. And so yeah, that's kind of how it started.
so in college, like you knew Varun Maya, how? Like I don't know the story. How in
Yeah.
Bangalore, right? Like how I knew that
Yeah.
Manipal because I read the book, right? So I know that you both were connected there,
Mm.
but I didn't know that you knew him before even college.
So, bro, the interesting thing is we first met in 11th standard. We were in the same JE coaching. So his parents and my parents both somehow ended up adding us to the same JE coaching. And like he quit within like a month or two. He was like, bro, this is not for me. I still slogged quite hard. Love, getting 3 marks out of 20 and shit on the internal tests and whatever. I was like, bro, this is not working out. But 2 years later, we ended up being in Manipal, computer science, both of us, same batch, um, neighbors literally in the hostel. So yeah,
Interesting. So you went to college. First year you did. Obviously the marks were not good. Second year the marks were good, but you did fine design, right? Like then how the third year, fourth year marks were?
yeah. They never got better, bro. They never got better, unfortunately. Right. So fourth year though, fourth year was we had you get to do an internship outside
Correct.
college.
Yeah.
Like you get to. So I did one in Bangalore. By that time, my portfolio and everything, I had some freelance stuff, so I was able to get something. And so my fourth year, I actually got a 10 GPA because
Is that's good,
uh,
right?
let's just say 9.5 because like there were a 6 7 for the
Every
normal
time I
subjects
ask
and
you to
then for
decrease
marks.
some, like 7 to 6.8, 10 to 9.5, I'm afraid to ask again because
Yeah, yeah. The thing is, after that first back, after I failed that one subject, I was like, I can never lose this much control ever again. Like because when you get a back, now you can't enjoy your holidays. You have to come back. Your whole family gets to know because your vacations get disrupted, and like everybody's like, "Oh, bacha, acha, suna hai, Abhinav ki back lag gayi, acha." I was like, bro, like that was a really bad
it's
experience
like
for me. I was
mayat ka
like,
mahal in ghar.
yeah, and everybody's talking about you, bro. Like that's what I hate. Like everybody's talking about you. Acha, isko ye karna chahiye, nahi, isne ye nahi. And like everybody has an opinion, right? And I was like, I never want to get to that position where I am just so out of control and like I have no control over my own life, right? Like sab baat kar rahe hain, I can't, like I have nothing going on. But anyway, third, fourth year, padhai to ho gayi, right? I never got a back after that, so just managed to make it through. I enjoyed computer science a lot. Like actually, it's just that I didn't learn enough for exams. But like I would love reading the textbook. I loved reading like how networks work and all of this stuff. But not I didn't care enough to get good at it for exams. Like I just could not bring myself to do that. And Shamko, I had freelance work going on at this point. So Shamko, I was like, okay, let's work on freelance. And honestly, I was, to be honest, because this is back in 2012 now, I would say. So I
Right,
graduated
yeah.
2015. 2009 was maybe 10th. It was still a scary moment because I'm like, पैसे तो आ रहे हैं थोड़े से freelance से, My parents are on my ass, but they're like, okay, ठीक है, मतलब कुछ ना कुछ तो चल रहा है. And I still did not have the confidence that, bro, I figured this one thing out for myself. But what next? Like, I know, like today, like this is why I can kind of relate also with people who ask me, like, today, right? I want to become a designer. The common thing is, yeah, everything is online. Go figure it out. Ye hai, wo hai. But that confidence, saying I will do it. बाकी लोग कर सकते हैं, but I will do it. That doesn't come easy, right? And so it didn't come easy. Graduated college, continued freelancing, and faced a lot of doubt, bro. That's the main thing. चल तो रहा था freelance,
Yeah.
but it could stop at any. Parents don't
Yeah.
understand. They're like, too much risk.
Yeah, my question, like, I was gonna ask this question only, right? Because so again, I'm also self-taught, right? So the whole thing that I need to figure out, right? In my thing, I was blessed because I already doing job, and like, I already had a traditional career figured out, right? In your process, you
Yeah.
did JE because you want to do computer science, you want to do internship, like get a job. So right, I think till college you had a very traditional mindset. You know, when I want to go get into this, the next step is this,
Absolutely.
right? Then suddenly on the second class, you're like, you know what, I have a new path. But today, if I tell someone, hey, you can do freelance, it's more
Hmm.
understandable or acceptable as a job or as a career, right? Yeah, we can do
Hmm.
work like this. But at that time, when like people were not aware about
Yeah.
freelance that much, right? Like, so
And
how
when
did
remote
that?
work didn't exist almost,
Yeah, right.
right?
And then the mindset like
Did not
you
exist
had
at
to
all.
have as a student, where you are pure traditional, like yeah, I gotta get a job, get into a MNC or a good company. So suddenly freelancing,
Yeah.
like, that transition would be a
Hmm.
really tough one to do.
Yeah. And I'm really glad it happened though, because I feel like till that point, just being a kid who grew up had a decently really good childhood. I was in Bangalore. I did not have the balls to say no, bro. And I only got that in second year or third year of college, where I was like, now I don't need to say, like, I can do whatever the fuck I want. I can, like, now that I have some freelance, see, it's not sorted, right? So there's still some doubt always. But I'm like, ab aage jaake, I never want to be like, matlab, I never want to be in this kind of position where I wanted to do the traditional path, to be very honest. If it had worked out, maybe I would have explored design way later in my career. Maybe not at all. But it just did not. It was just either no good teachers, no guidance, no understanding of what's needed, what's not needed. Um, yeah, but I could say no, right? That's one thing I learned, because till then I was following the rules, bro. Like, really, right?
Going with
Because
the
I
whole
thought,
flow.
yeah, because I was like, agar sab keh rahe hain, to it must be true, right? Like, if everybody tells me this is the path, it must be the path,
It's supposed to be the
and it
path.
was not. And then, so that was a very like a learning moment for me, which is actually nobody knows what's going on. That's I actually felt that for the very first time, and maybe this is a little late in life. I don't know, but I was like, सबकी सुन सकते हो, but in the end, करनी खुद की
खुद
है,
की,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And I understood that very deeply, because when you're down, everybody tries to give you advice. Like when I got that, my GPA going down, all relatives, everybody, and they come with good intentions. But in the end, you can't do something because somebody told you to do something. Because if it doesn't work out, they don't care. Like they don't have that accountability. They'll be like, अच्छा कुछ और try कर लो. मुझे क्या, मैं तो बता दिया.
They give advice. It's free.
Um,
They'll keep giving it.
yeah, yeah. But I learned,
So,
bro. I learned that you have to do your own thing. You have to have that confidence in yourself. People can give you that little bit of boost, and it definitely helps having similar like-minded people.
you
Solo killer.
yeah, so like when you say similar like my people, right? So like again, I
Mm.
have read the book a lot time, like long time back, so my memory might not be correct, but if I'm not wrong, like when you started freelancing, you did with Varun, right? You started working
Mm.
together in that, right? So what was it
Yeah.
easy working together with him then? Like, because if you like, let's take this, what if, right? What if you found out design alone? What if you were doing freelancing alone? What would have changed in the college when you were like already doubting yourself with the marks and everything?
Yeah. It's I think it definitely helped me, and it was not just Varun. It was a bunch of my friends, and what I realized is that it's a little contagious because Varun started, I started, a few of us started, my flatmates started, my hostel wala neighbor started. When you hear there is somebody in the hostel, somebody वो वाले room में
Making money.
रात को क्या करते हैं? They're making money. And what are they doing? They're doing something interesting. They're doing making apps or something. They're making posters or something. So it spreads contagiously, but then at the same time you feel so alienated because it's not real to anybody, right? You can't, like, you're meeting these people who know nothing about it, and their goal is like, okay, yeah, after the 4th year I want to work for Microsoft and I want to go to the US for my masters. And so the minute you're like, I'm freelancing, they're like,
You.
okay, like, what is that? Who's paying you? Who's paying you money? What do you do? Like, it's a very like sus environment. Nobody's happy for you. It's a bit sus. They're like, अच्छा मतलब और बन जाते हैं पैसे, like. And so for that you need people who are not sus, right? People who are like, bro, obviously बन जाते हैं. Now tell me more. Like, how much? What was your last
You
hourly
need
rate?
optimistic people
How do you do this?
who believe very like क्या हाँ हो जाता होगा कुछ तो होता ही होगा इसमें.
Yes. You need optimistic people. And you need people who've been through that one experience themselves, where they're like, they're beyond that threshold now. They've crossed that threshold and they're like, acha, bro. Now tell me what you are doing good, and here's what I'm doing good, and let's do better.
Together.
And that's so rare to find. Yeah.
Okay, so college. So you didn't apply for an internship. Like, did you do internship? What was the like plan there?
I did a bunch of jugaad and got myself into an internship at Microsoft in
Oh, nice.
3rd year, which is Microsoft and a lot of jugaad. But pretty much what happened was Microsoft in Bangalore had this thing called Microsoft Accelerator. And so given that I was in startups and I had worked with startups already, right? Doing some random projects here and there,
Freelance works and all
websites,
that. Yeah.
apps, freelance work. And when I found out Microsoft Accelerator exists, did some setting, did this thing, matlab ye karwa do, like basically a lot of jugaad, cold email, reaching out to the person. And pretty much what they said was, hey, we have our next batch of startups coming in soon. And so what we can do, and we are building a bunch of internal tools and stuff. So basically I got an internship. It was in person in Bangalore, Microsoft R&D, working on with the Microsoft Accelerator team to, we were building this internal tool that could read their startups data and all this stuff. So did a bit of front end coding, Microsoft over there. When the startups eventually came, the next batch, like I would love it because they had all these sessions and everything. So like I would just be sitting there
Yeah,
listening to the
learning.
sessions, like, yeah, today we're going to teach you how B2C go to market. The 4 startups from this batch who are B2C are these founders. Please give your intro, and then so I loved that. But was Microsoft's culture, like it felt a little bit too constrictive. Like me having, wanted to work for startups, social network, like I'm excited about startups. I'm working with the startups in the Microsoft Accelerator. But that was my first experience at a big company. And I just realized there is quite a bit of red tape. Like you can't just do whatever you want. You have to do things the right way. I was used to this mindset where if you're good, you can have growth that goes like this. And when you're in Microsoft, it's like, if you're good, everybody here is good, number one, because that's our bar.
Yeah.
And you can't go like this. You can like this. Like you go step by step.
Slow to step by step.
In a year or two, you go to this level. And then, Microsoft has these different levels. You have PD1, PD2, this thing. And I was like, dude, I just can't imagine being here just to climb levels. Like, yeah, it would be great working on Microsoft products, but I need some speed. Like I need some speed. And so I'm glad I have this in my resume. I was happy for that. But I was like, I don't think I would want to work at a big company. And so ever since then, I've specifically chosen startups. Yeah.
That, I mean, obviously you got an internship certificate and the whole degree, but also gave you clarity of what not to do, at least where not to go.
Yeah.
So
And it
till
cuts FOMO, no? That I think that's the good thing. कि
yeah, I
मतलब
mean,
FOMO तो हर चीज के लिए होता है.
you worked in Microsoft
And
first job, right? So like, पता है मेरे को. I know how this
yeah,
shit is.
and I was like, ठीक है. Now I know. Like, there's no FOMO for me, ki bro. Because I really, if you had asked me in 10th standard, what do you want to do? I would have said I want to work at Facebook. Like, that was my dream company.
Thanks, yeah.
If you'd asked me at that point, after doing Microsoft, where do you want to work? I would have still said Facebook, because I was like, Facebook back then was still a startup, unlike Microsoft. But I was like, I think small teams have more fun. Small teams have something to prove, so they have this they have this underdog mentality, and I really resonated because myself, I had to struggle through and figure everything out. So I was like, to be able to do that in a startup, and you have to create this disproportionate impact. It's like, that sounds like the most fun thing ever. Like, I don't want to be in Microsoft. Yeah.
So till now, by the way, till the first internship, you didn't have a design mentor, right? Like, because you did freelance, right? You learned by yourself. So
Yeah.
like again, by yourself online. I'm assuming YouTube and everything you found out. And back in the day, I mean, I don't know if you use it, but we had torrent, right, where you download the pre-made courses from Udemy, like and just
Yeah.
use them to learn. So
It was not so much back then. YouTube, there was no design YouTube. There was a lot of design Twitter back then. People had their own personal blogs and stuff. But Silicon Valley designers, right? Not There was no Indian design Twitter at all. But yeah, it was fun. Figured it out, did all this, and I didn't have mentors, but I had a lot of peers. And I think for me, peers played that role of a mentor, because I didn't like, yeah, working with clients, they tell you what to do, you do it, they give you feedback, done.
correct.
Nobody really cares about your growth as such otherwise, right? I think that's the role of a mentor. They kind of care about your role, somebody you can reach out to anytime you want. For me, those were the peers. Like, I could literally walk to the next hostel room, go talk to Varun or someone, you know. But honestly, I for the so I started freelancing maybe second year of college. By the time I was done with college, 2015, um, the first time I met other designers was actually my job at housing, which is after graduation. Till then, I actually knew no other designers. Like, I knew thoda design kar rahe hain, but mostly front end devs actually. I knew more front end devs at that point than designers.
Yeah, because I was thinking, right? So again, graphic design to then product and like get in that transition, right? So college mein to it's easier when you're doing posters. And again, I'm not saying as easy as in like learning, but there's no rules or structure to poster design. You make something which look good, delivers, it will work in college. There's no client and everything. But when you get into
True.
apps, right, it gets more systematic, more rules based, right? You can't just put a random text or random size anywhere, right? Like, so without mentors, like how did you like get to that side where you can go to Microsoft and like hire me? This is my portfolio. I know this is because Microsoft will also have some structure, right? System like, you know what, we need this much knowledge for your, like, where did
True.
you get that
True.
knowledge? Was the books, tutorials, peers, as you said?
I think I was in the right place, right time in some ways, because there was no established knowledge yet. So, for example, to give a moment in time, till 2015, so 2015 is when I graduated, till then, startups in India weren't a crazy thing. Like, there were a handful of startups, but Geo had not come in yet. Most people in India did not have a smartphone. And so pre 2015, I was actually only designing iOS apps. And this was for clients abroad. And iOS apps, I was really fucking good at. Right. So I didn't figure out everything about design, but I figured out one thing, which was apps. And so iOS apps I was really good at. I was just able to use official Apple guidelines, take
Uh,
screenshots of a lot of apps, do it, figure it out, like reverse engineer and figure out pretty much.
got it.
But then I used that to then say, okay, now I can probably do websites also. And websites, so say I can also little bit dashboards. But the Microsoft internship, it was not very rigorous or whatever. They were just like, you understand startups, and so you'll probably know what's going on here, right? Because this is not an official internship that we would have gone out and hired for. But you showed that initiative, and so clearly you have enough hustle to figure it out. I think that's what they gave it to me on. Portfolio was not great. I had some projects, they were okay. But then I guess back then, like it was unusual to have somebody working on iOS apps so deeply, especially in India. So they were just like, this kid is figuring stuff out. Um, it's just 3 months. Let's just give him some time.
But I think I lost your audio. It's back. It's back. It's back. Hello.
Back now?
Yeah, yeah. No, I can hear you now. Yeah. So Microsoft happened. You left that job. I mean, internship, right? Then what was the next step, right? Because again, I said that your parents were like not
Yeah.
happy that you had the bad marks. Now suddenly you was working on Microsoft and you left that job. Like how was like I would understand how was it at home?
Hmm. Yeah. Um, I think by that time, by second year, third year, my parents were like, "ठीक है, you're not gonna see the marks thing. We're kind of okay with. Just don't get the back again." But roughly, they were like, "What you're doing is working out." So my mom, for example, was very happy that I got Microsoft because she was like, "Figure out how you can go back to Microsoft after you graduate." And she was like, "That's the best move. You just figure out how to do that." And I was like, I didn't say this, but in my mind, I was like, there's zero chance I'm going back. Firstly, I don't think they will take me back. But then secondly, I don't want to. I want to
Go
do
back, yeah.
startups. And so after I graduated, that was actually when it got very serious because now it's fourth year. Now college bhi khatam ho raha hai. You have to come back home now. I chose to do freelancing actually. So graduated, came back to Bangalore. In fact, for my final sem, came back to Bangalore, worked for this startup called Yellow in Koramangala. That was my first time working with a Bangalore startup. And yeah, did that for about 6 months post graduation. But this is where I've realized, right? This whole thing about in college, freelancing was great fun because you had all these people around you. In Bangalore, freelancing was sitting alone at Starbucks. And I did not have a network in Bangalore despite having grown up. Like, I know people here and there, but I don't think the tech scene was that huge. I knew a few people. And I just realized I made the wrong call. Like, freelancing was great, but I was like, bro, like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I need to meet other designers. Where are they? Like, that was my mind on my mind. Where are the other designers? Because yeah, I could find a few online, but I was like, is that it? And things really changed for me when so during that final year, I one thing I think I did that really helped me was even when I was in college, I was posting a lot of work online. So I got this inbound message from Gaurav Joshi, right? He was the design lead at housing.com. Today he's the head of design at Hotstar. But he was like, yo, I love your work and all this. You interested for an internship? And I ghosted him, bro, because I was like, Bombay kon jayega. Like I had stuff going on pretty much, right? I was like,
You're
oh,
making
fuck
money from
jobs. Like I'm going
freelance,
to go
yeah, yeah.
freelance, right? So I was a bit rude. Like I'll be honest. I didn't reply. I should have, I don't like ghosting people, but, happens sometimes. But 6 months later, when I didn't, and I was done with freelancing, I was like, bro, what the fuck? So then I sent him an email saying, bro, what about now? Like, is it too late or whatever? And bro, he ghosted me. No reply. But then a month later, he replied saying, what about now? Like, somehow their hiring shift, and I'd just been missing it, okay? But finally, they did open up their hiring. And so had an interview, moved to Bombay, got into housing.com. And I think that was my first official full-time job. Official full-time job. And at housing, I met 55 other designers, right? Which was the best experience of my life, to be honest. Because at that point, I don't think there was any other team, any other company in India that had a design team of that size. Um,
You're telling someone a
yeah.
Photoshop joke and they're laughing. You're like, wow, I found my people.
Yeah. Yeah. And, people from design school, there were people from design school from NID, IIT Bombay. There were people who had just been working as designers at older companies like Paytm, Flipkart. And there were people just like me who were also freelancers. So very interestingly, the team that Housing assembled, they assembled a mix of backgrounds because they did not want the team to lean fully towards design school way of thinking or fully towards matlab jugadu way of thinking. Like they had a
A
really good
diversity of
balance.
designers were there. Was there, like you have different
Yes.
structure. This was in which year?
2016.
Because I have a very like fond memory of housing.com. The reason is like I remember first time I saw them, okay? Because first of all they had this up arrow. Like just the up arrow, nothing else. Like as the logo, that was the logo.
Yeah.
And second, they have this amazing purple, I think dark purple magenta on that some shade, and a yellowish tone of branding. And like
Yeah.
I would, so at that time I was in real estate. Like my first, at that time I was working as a purchase manager, right? So I would just go to buildings and all that. And I would go and I would notice this amazing color palette of hoardings. And that's how I remember housing at that time. Because I was like, who is crazy enough to just have an up arrow as a logo? Like,
Yeah. And to run a billboard campaign where you have illustrations on the billboard. Like now it seems like nothing, but to have illustrations on a billboard, like you're seeing isometric illustrations, which you normally see on Dribble, on a billboard in Mumbai. Like it was like, whoa, bro, like fuck, maybe good design is come to India. Maybe things are gonna change.
also, Mumbai is hub of advertisement, right? Like people go, like if you go to Mumbai, you're gonna work in advertisement in that way, right? Like first, my job was
Yeah.
like, I do design here. The next stop is Mumbai only, because marketing there, right? And I remember the first place I was at the builder, they bought an image of 25,000 rupees, like a single image for a billboard. They
Like
bought it for
stock photo.
25,000. Yeah, stock photo. And I was like, why would you do this? Like, use freepic.com. And they are like,
Yeah.
advertisement companies don't do that. They use actual images. And again, like seeing illustrations changes everything. But that was, I think, for me, that was a very big shift in how I see design. Because suddenly, from going typical brochures, I saw a different view altogether, right? I don't think if this comparison will be good or not, but in a way, what like how people talk about cred today, right? Like in a way that it changed the whole
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's talk of the town. I think at that time housing was that. Like you see that and you feel
True.
that.
True. True. Absolutely. And in fact, and there are very good reasons behind it. Like I knew that they were a fun company to work for, and here's what attracted me to them. I knew they had a really good team. That was something I was after. They spent about 500K USD on housing.com, the domain. So I was like, bro, these guys are like, wow, they care about brand. Like that's new. Never seen somebody that
100K.
obsessed with brand.
Damn,
Like I
16.
think they raised 2 million. Like one of their rounds was a 2 million round. They spent 500K on the phone number and 500K on the domain of a 2 million round.
I'm
And
just
I was like, wow,
visualizing their
like these
pitch
guys,
deck. Use of funds, phone number, website, and half runway is done.
yeah. And I was like, wow, that's balls. Like to really care about it that much, your brand and design. Like you guys, I've never seen something like that.
You
So
let a milli go on that.
yeah. And I was like, fuck, like I don't think anybody in India cares about design as much as you guys. And so I had to work for them, right? I was like, dude, I have to figure out how to get in here. And it was short-lived in the sense that, founder and investor issues with the founder. They had layoffs. So, when at its peak, it was 55 designers. But by the time I left, which was about a year later, we were down to about 10. Uh, but I had the network now. And
Now you need
this thing that
people.
I said earlier, right? I did not really have mentors, too many of them. But I think peers have always played a very important part in my learning, which is being in that team at housing, seeing people from these backgrounds, you're able to benchmark yourself very clearly. You're just like I knew I could do, for example, prototyping, little bit of motion. But I had Sapta working and I was like, wow, like you're really good at it. Right? Or at Rahul Bhosle. And he was like, even back then, really fucking good. Right? And Rama, who was, basically, I could see these people. I could see that I was only a couple steps behind. Right? In fact, Sapta, when he had joined, he had just transitioned to design. Right? So we were kind of there, and I could see him getting better at visuals because yeah, he would spend a lot of time with Rahul Bhosle, and we would all kind of designers had a
Yeah,
separate room, by the way, in the office.
like a
So
studio
with
kind
its
of.
own like yeah, we had our own studio kind of thing with all glass whiteboards. We had a massage chair in the office. Like designers lived well, okay, at housing. But my peers taught me a lot, bro. Like I think even till date, like a lot of heads of design at very prominent companies. Like I first met them at housing, and so for me to have just been able to see their progress like that, like it gave me a lot of confidence. And a lot of those folks are still friends of mine to date.
And now that you told this, right, I feel peers, like Twitter does help you in finding that. And I think in 10K also, right? I mean, we're gonna come back to the whole story. Like we get back to, because we are derailing a little bit. But in 10K, right? Like I never studied in 10K, right? But I found Abhinav Gupta there. I found Rachit there. I found so many amazing people, right? Who
Yeah.
are like, I won't call them mentors, but as peers, they've been teaching me a lot, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's even community wise, the whole thing works like that, right? You have people who you can learn, and go, yeah, I want to reach there, right? Because you can't now you can't sit. For example, if I want to do learn motion, I can't go it the self-taught way, right? I can't invest 5 hours today to learn motion. I could back in the day, but not now, right? So I'll rather just go to, for example, Saptak. Hey, I want to do this. He's like, yeah, here's a video. Here's the best things which you can learn from, and just give feedback on that. And I'll have that in much faster hours, right? So community and peers
True.
matter at that time. So you like were doing freelance, right? You were doing Upwork from the book I know, right?
Yes.
Correct. So
Yes.
Upwork was doing. You were calling. I'm gonna assume yourself a iOS designer, product designer. What do you call, like? What was the designation at that time in the tech scene?
What I called myself, like on LinkedIn and stuff.
Upwork, right? You will have a, like, I have worked in Upwork, so
Upwork.
I know that you need to have a name and
Yeah.
everything like that, like a bio thing.
Yeah. I think I eventually settled on UI UX designer. But back then when I didn't know, basically it was a trial and error. It's like what helps my profile stand out. So I was like, and again, it's not very clear, right? These terms. So I was like, can I call myself a usability analyst? Because I saw that term, right? So I would scroll. Other people were like, usability analyst. Can I analyze usability? Can I call myself that? So it was a gradual process. I'm like, okay, web designer. I don't want to call myself a web designer because I didn't want to do web projects, right? I only wanted to do apps.
Apps.
So I was like, okay, I'm not going to call myself web designer. I don't want to code either. So I'm not going to call myself a web developer. So UI UX designer kind of was the term that worked. iOS UI UX designer to even specific. But this whole identity crisis thing as a designer, like I've gone through like at least 20 of those, like in my career so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think I also asked this question, right? I think back in the, like, few months back, right? When you're like, you don't sit on actually and design something, then can you like call yourself this, right? Like, because you're just doing more content, more maybe operations and all that. But okay, so
Yeah,
in housing you joined as, which, like, was your designation there?
just product designer.
Product designer. And after a year left, I'm assuming at the same designation.
Yeah. And I actually, at housing, um, met a bunch of people who we ended up quitting together to become co-founders. So Abhiraj was actually one of them. Abhiraj, he works at Meta now, but yeah, he was an iOS developer at housing back then, a product designer now. Bhargav, who was a friend of mine, Vibhas, we actually quit roughly at the same time to build a music app. And for
Listen, yeah.
me, after having finally tried out design as a freelancer, at a big, large company, Microsoft, at a startup, housing, I was like, you know what? The best place to actually be is probably a founder. Now, can I call myself a founder? Probably not, but I have to prove it to myself that I can start something. And so back then, I thought I was leaving design, but I was like, okay, you know what? What's cooler than being a designer? It's like, it's a fucking founder. Like,
Being a founder.
and given that we were so deep into iOS apps, like we had very high confidence that we could build something that would get hype, like a lot of hype, right? Best at design by that point. We're, of course, at housing, learned everything that I could from other people, like really absorbed everything I could. But that's when we started Listen. That was the music app. Um,
So,
but
like,
yeah,
I'm just
so
gonna
actually gave
drop.
up designer, became founder, and then after that, actually went back to designer. Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop it for the people. Everyone, sorry, bro. People are hating me dribbling with pen. But uh, when you like, for example, if you want to find about listen, just search Abhinav Chhikara, not Abnux. Search Abhinav Chhikara, and you'll find the old articles on the news channels and everything. Like good is there on the websites. But yeah, so you left housing. You started like become a founder. What? How long that journey was?
I was at housing for about a year. Tried to do listen for about another year after that, year and a half. Um, Once I was done with listen, though, with listen, we built a beautiful app. So we literally built a music app with chat rooms where you could literally listen to live music synced, right? Like
You
you're
did a
sitting next to each
recent
other.
stream, right? If I'm not wrong, when you went to ChatGPT and also showed this case study of listen.
Hmm. Uh, yeah, I need to publish that really old stuff. But yeah, we built a beautiful app. It got a lot of hype. We were featured on TechCrunch, and so Indian startup scene, we actually were able to get noticed quite a lot because it was rare back then for an Indian app to be featured. Our
In App
users
Store.
were going great. Most of them were from the US and South America, and we gave it a really good shot. But it was too competitive of a space, and so during that time is when I actually met Gaurav Munjal, founder of Unacademy. I was trying to raise money. He was like, "Yeah, maybe I'll invest, maybe." But then he was fundraising too at the time. He's like, "No, I'm busy with my own fund." It never happened. But then when he heard that I'd quit, when I'd shut down Listen, he pretty much sent me a DM and he was like, "Yo, let's talk." And I was like, "Okay, let's talk."
Not gonna ghost go this time.
Yeah. I was like, "I'm not gonna ghost people. Let's be open to meeting people, talking to them." So we met at, I think, at the Unacademy office, and he was like, "Can I acquire you guys?" Because with Listen, one of the, and of course, I had no clue about how all this works. I know it now, but pretty much in the same way that you apply for a company, you have your portfolio and all this. Companies typically also try to acquire teams, and this is known as acqui-hiring, right? So back then, and it was still early. Like I think the engineering team at Unacademy was like less than 10 people at that point, so quite early. But they were interested in acqui-hiring, and because we were so good at design, we had built this app. But the rest of my team had moved on, so I was like, no, that's not an option. He's like, join Unacademy. I think you should join Unacademy. And I was not really looking for a job. So in that meeting, I said, no, I don't think so. But the more we talked, the more we met, I realized that I don't really want to jump back to starting a startup so soon after shutting down Listen. I was still kind of scarred by that experience. uh, but Unacademy was so early back then that I was like, wow, like there's actually a lot of space to explore. Like back then, Unacademy's app was like basic folder structure, like no design, like just physics. You click thermodynamics and you watch a video. And so I was like, wow, like this space of learning is actually a very nice space to be in as a designer because there are no fixed rules and patterns. Like something like e-commerce, for example, there's a collection page and then you click it, product page, checkout. Learning, way more open. It can be multimedia, it can be videos, it can be interactive. So
And
that's
also,
when I ended up joining Unacademy.
also
And
at that time, I think edtech was, I mean, it's just starting, right? So again, you can explore a lot in that than just using pre-designed principles and all that, right? So
and this was 2017, so pre Geo, so still, you know, still growing.
we have
But yeah,
pre-geo, like we can, I think we a few decades of the last decade we can do it pre-geo, pre-covid, like in that way we can divide the whole decade,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
things pre and post. But okay, so
yes.
in listen, like how big of a team like you had, right? I think three people you told, right? You and the two co-founders, right?
So we were four co-founders, two of us designers, two of us developers, and we had hired one person as well, another developer. So at its peak, we were five of us. But yeah,
Yeah, okay, yeah, that
and
makes sense. Because
yeah. Go on. I'll
sorry,
tell you.
I
Go on.
lost. Yeah. No, no. My next question was gonna be that like we know how you became a designer now. Like we go, iOS app was the obsession which took you from like
Yeah.
Manipal, from computer science, saved you from
Mm.
going into MNC to like starting your freelance to doing this and that, right? But then the
Yeah.
transition from an IC, right, to a manager. When did that happen? That's why I
Mm.
asked how many people you had in listen, right? Because that could have happened
Yes.
there. Like
Yes.
when, how was that transition? Because that's also a very
Mm.
tough step for most of designers, right? Like where your work, instead of
Mm.
something which you can see, right, doesn't get valued by that, but
True.
actually other people which you are doing and how you're managing them, it gets valued by that.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Great question, bro. Because after having done all this, having done freelance, then this, and then back to startup, I was like, dude, like, I think I'm, I think I don't know what I want. Like, it was a difficult moment because I was like, bro, like, I've done okay at whatever I've tried, but I can't seem to stick to one thing. And that's a bit of an insecurity I had. Okay. But I was like, every project I had done till that point, I could not do more than a year. Like, I would just get bored. I would like, let's move on to the next thing. But very interestingly, when I met Gaurav and it was like unofficial interview process, he's like asking me about all projects, what we've done, and everything. To him, what stood out, and I found out this much later, was that number one, I had worked in a team. So seeing how a team operates is very important knowledge. Like, there's theoretically, you're like, oh, this is how teams work. But being in a large team, you observe it every single day, right? So one advantage that I had going for me was I had actually worked at housing where I knew other designers. So if I had to list it down, number one, had worked in a team before, which means I know how team dynamics work. Had worked in a design team. Number two, because of that, I knew designers, which means I could hire people.
Hi, yeah.
Because one of your roles as a head of design or design leadership is to bring other people who are
Build a
as good or
team
even
and
better than you. So number two, I had that network. Number three, I had done my startup, so it showed that I had that risk-taking ability, right? Which is founders really value that. And as part of that startup, I had hired myself. So it's like, oh, you hire your own team, which means you can team. You just not officially done it. And so it really got to that point in the interview. I think you should work, but what would you want to do? Like, what role do you want? Because you've been founder. Maybe you don't want, maybe you want to continue and get into something else, but you could also do design. And so it was not exactly clear.
oh, so he hired you,
But
but
the reason was still design. No, the reason he had reached out was still design. But he was like, what do you want to do in the company? Because if we are going to do this together, we need to set a foundation that is good for all of us. Right. So, like, it's a commitment you're making. And I knew that I want to stay. Like, if I'm joining this company now and I'm get the chance to build my own team, I want to stay for as long as
not a
possible.
1 year thing.
Like, yeah, not a 1 year thing. Let's stay here. Let's actually like go all in here. And so I was actually offered the head of design position purely based on this. And so although I had never actually officially managed a design team, I think these factors really added to my profile, I guess. And so unconventional route. If somebody had asked me, "Are you ready to be a head of design?" I would have probably said, "No, I don't think so." But that confidence, Gaurav had that confidence in me, right? And so he was
Hmm.
willing to give that a shot. And so I felt like, wow, like I have this opportunity to rise to the occasion. And at this point, the product is, I think it had a 200K, 300K downloads, doing a million, 2 million per month, the website. But the whole journey was way ahead. We had not figured out how to make money yet on Academy.
Business model
We
was not
tried
there.
products, but monetization had not figured out. Still early in the fundraising process. So yeah, I was like, okay, I mean, you trust me to do this? I'm ready. I'm all in. And so within the first 3 months there, I hired two designers. And so the three of us for the first year I was, let's say, 80% hands-on, right? So managing,
Hmm.
but 80% hands-on, 20% helping others. For the
Also, this
year
is a
two, we grew the
startup. I
team.
mean, there are downloads. In a way, it's a startup, right? So you can't just like hire people and move out of the space, right? It's evolving. There's a set rules.
Yeah. True. And the kind of leadership people, startups hire, at least from my observation, they do want people who are not afraid to get their hands dirty, right? They don't want somebody who's so senior that they're like, oh, I'm not even going to open Figma. Like, I want to be in strategy, right? They wanted somebody who's excited to actually make a cool app. And I was really excited. I was like, fuck, I need to build cool apps now. Um, and yeah, so within 2 years, then the team had grown to, I think, about 8 people. And at that point, yeah, I started getting more into, like, let's say 50% hands-on, 50% like leadership, involved with all the heads of department, reporting directly to the co-founder. um,
Yeah. So when did the book happen? Like, when was the book which launched? Cause like what I see that, right. We had Varun in call school. By the way, do let me know the time, right? Again, I can go for hours, but we have been up for an hour, right? So do let me know if you are
I wanted
available at
to
the time.
I want to show a visual example of the book. So
Yeah, because like Varun was with you in, let's say, JE for a month, right? Like, I am assuming you had contact in college. You had for three,
yeah.
4 years, right? Then I'm assuming when you went to Mumbai, I'm not sure what Varun did after that, but he would have been something in his life, and you were right. So how did the book happen?
Mm. So post college, actually, one of the options I had was actually just become co-founder with Varun for his startup he was doing back then called JobSpire. That was his first startup out of college. But I knew enough at that point that I don't want to be making dashboards. It was a weird reason to say no, but I was like, bro, the space you're getting in, they were building a tool for hiring and HR and recruiting. I was like, bro, I
L-
only want to work on apps. Like, I'm sorry. Like,
I mean, look at that now. Now we're saying like AI will take all the jobs. Why would you build this?
yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
But we had anyway stayed in touch, right? The book, I think at that point, both of us, like, that was actually maybe the time, 2017, 2018. Both of us are like, hey, we should be making content. Like, I feel like we're established enough that we could tell a lot of interesting stories. And so both of us, roughly around the same time, started making content. And Instagram was actually when where we kind of started. YouTube was second. And when you first start as a creator, you get a lot of questions, especially early on.
Right.
Just realized was, hey, one of the things that we both of us have done is freelancing. A lot of the questions we're getting from this new growing is around freelancing. Let's just write a book for this.
No,
Because
no,
at
no.
that
Wait a
point, we
second.
also
Wait a second. Nobody goes from
yeah,
question to just let's write a book. Okay, like that's not how casual you go. Like, yeah, let's start a book.
yeah,
That's not how casual it is.
yeah. I'll go deeper. It was a bit casual because we were like, till then we had done a lot of stuff together on and off, but no like big release or something, right? It was just all behind the scenes, clients and stuff. So we're like, let's do one together. And book was an interesting thing because both of us were like, never written a book. However, to me, I was like, and we started writing the book, I think. So this was before Unacademy, I started writing. It came out when I had joined Unacademy by then. But I was like, I might go back to freelance after this, after Listen. And so I was
Hmm.
like, fuck, I really, now that I have all this experience, I need to start thinking about personal brand and stuff. So we were like, what better way to position yourself as an authority
And then write a book
than write a
about
book?
it.
Like, be an author. Like, bro, like you literally written a book on freelancing. Like, that's as authority as it gets, right? That was my thinking back then. I was like, bro, like this would probably help me get clients. It's a credibility thing. And of course, the other advantage is that we were not freelancing anymore, Varun and I, but we were like, given 1 or 2 more years, we're going to completely forget what that time was like. So we were
Hmm.
like, we probably need some time capsule, which is let's capture all this before we actually forget.
So
And
like
we were like,
documenting the
book.
whole knowledge you had into something.
Yes. Because by then he was on his founder journey. I was also on my founder journey with a question mark on freelancing, question mark on design. But we were like, yo, let's write a book. And yeah, it was literally one Google Doc that we would just, we would meet every once in a while. Google Doc में लिख रहे हैं 3 months gap कुछ नहीं हुआ. फिर वापस से चलो bro, let's do it. अब start कर दिया, we should. Grueling process, bro. It took so long, which put me off. I was like, I'm never going to write a book again. But finally, we were able to get it published. Varun, really good at cold email. He was able to get us a publisher, which was Bloomsbury. They're the publishers of Harry Potter in India. And
Oh,
we did all this because we were like, let's actually give it a what's the traditional process? Let's do it. And so yeah, it was nice to have a physical book. It was nice people talk about it. I don't think I would do this again. I would rather make a YouTube video than write a book. Like
yeah.
this
Someone
book,
in the
if I were to
comments
start writing a
said
book today, publishers are really slow. Like they'll take at least 2 years for the book to be out. Versus a video, I know I can press publish
to
tomorrow.
publish and it goes out. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Also, I mean, you don't need publisher to publish a book. Like, you can just print your own. I mean, it's an investment kind of thing. But with like again, I'm just thinking out loud in that. But you're 10K, right? You send gifts to 100 people every cohort, like the whole graduation kit. You can put a book there. Like 100 books will go to 100 people, right? It will go somewhere. But yeah, again, I think books are honestly, if I want to talk to the today's audience, book is the older medium, right? Like the traveling time is really long to reach that knowledge from here to there. But yeah, so Unacademy happened. You wrote, I mean, I wrote the book. Unacademy happened. You worked at Unacademy for how many years?
Or 2.5 years.
2.5 years, right? So I think that's where I have a gap. Like I don't know what happened. Like when did Unacademy then 10K? Like that's the gap I want to also fill. Like so, how did 10K happen? Or like did you work with another company after Unacademy?
So while I was at Unacademy, because one of our core users was educators. So we're
Correct.
building products for educators. We're building live streaming tools, building like YouTube Studio type, analytics apps and all this. So I started the YouTube channel just to get a kind of like research. It was like for research purposes. Let's see what it's like being an educator. Eventually, we will have to build our own YouTube Studio app for educators. So let's really understand what YouTube
Let's
is
go through a
like
journey and
as an
check the
educator.
whole flow. Yeah.
And that's actually
Sorry, I think it's lagging. Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Is the audio back? Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Cool.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Sorry, you're talking about education. Like you started a YouTube channel. So you started a YouTube channel. Oh, that's long back. 18.
2018.
18, no? Yeah.
18 is when I started.
Shit.
Yeah.
How many? 8
But
years?
not serious.
No,
Like
sorry, 8
doing
years.
one or two videos.
5 years.
Yeah. And around that time is, started doing this and actually came up with the name 10K Designers during that time, which is I was creating these tutorial type content and I was like by then I had realized that number one, peers is really important to have given my housing experience.
Abhinav, I'm losing your audio. I can't hear you. Sorry. If you're doing a live and doesn't, okay. Hey folks, what's happening? Abhinav is not here. You're seeing two of me. I hope you enjoy that. What's happening? What's happening in the scene? Scene kya hai? I also have I deleted my purana stream wala setup or what? Yeah, Abhinav is here. A second. Yeah, you're back. You're back. Yeah, you're back. Sorry.
Where was I, bro?
He was going through like how did you name the 10K designers?
So by this time, I knew all these things, right? I was like, it's very important to have good peers. Startups is where growth is. National companies are also now starting to hire designers in India, right? Microsoft had picked up. Um, I knew smartphones were like really picking off. Like back then, I was only designing iOS, now Android as well. I also realized this one thing, which is while hiring for Unacademy, I got the chance to interview like, I want to say more than 100 people, right? Like totally combined. And that's when I kind of realized that at Unacademy, we see these educators. We had these top educators for like UPSC, JE, all these categories. And I was like, yeah, that's great. But what about design? Like, why are there no design educators? Is it that we don't need it? I saw the experience, I saw the interviews, and yeah, there was a clear need for it, which is people from design school had that gap where they were not able to understand why startups or how startups or like, even
Hmm.
how startups work. Like they were used to a traditional process. People who are freelancing, they did not really know how to work with teams and build peers. They were like more lone wolf individuals type of thing, right? And so that's when I was like, okay, my YouTube videos, I can't just be like Figma tutorial. Like I need to talk about mindset. Like I need to talk about like these foundational beliefs that you have that actually help you in your career. And so that's when the channel shifted a little bit more into, like, let's say mindset stuff. I'm like, okay, like what are some ways I can help? Like I don't know a lot, but I think I can probably talk about at least my own experiences. And then, after 2.5 years, Unacademy had like really grown up. Like team was huge. I was like employee number 40 something. We were like more than 1,000 at that point. Um, and for me, my love is early stage startups. So I was like, I feel like my job here is done. Like the team is operating really well. Sab chal raha hai. Every product has been redesigned, right?
I have a
Revenue
very,
is going
I have a
crazy.
very bad joke, but you're like Leonardo of startups. You like at them at a specific a pre-seed seed. You're like, okay, after that, I'm not into you. I'm going out.
It was good, bro. Good startup, right? Till now, I love Unacademy. I think they're gonna go even crazier. But I was like, I cannot imagine myself here though, which is I like early stage challenges. And by this
Hmm.
time, having worked with Gaurav, bro, Gaurav is like the best founder I've ever worked with. Like I was really inspired. I was like, this, like just working here has given me the confidence and inspiration that, you know, I can be a founder. Yes, I've been a freelancer and then gave it up. Been a founder, gave it up.
Give it
Been a
up.
designer, gave it up. And now I'm you have to give up my design leadership track. Like I'm now head of design and I'm going to give that up again to go back into an uncertain thing. It's not easy at all. Never gets easier, in fact, making these foundational shifts. But I was like, I think there's an opportunity here. And the only thing, I've kept switching things, like getting into
That's
writing books and all this
consistent.
stuff.
You are with this.
Design is the consistent thing, though. The design is something I've just, even till date, I'm not bored of. Right. So I was like, okay, I think this is it. And so after I quit just before COVID. So Jan 2020. And our first two cohorts, 2020, we made it happen.
Interesting. I think like again, I'm not sure if this was luck or something like that, but COVID, right? Digital
Mm.
education, then launching a cohort was I think the best time. Like you could never get a better time launching a design cohort based course other than that time, right?
I mean, I wish I had that hindsight back then. Back then, the one of my also reasons for switching was I wanted to get into remote. Like I was like, I think I need a remote job because I knew I would probably be moving to Copenhagen sometime soon. And so yeah, COVID happened. COVID was a difficult moment, like especially having to be locked in and you're working on your startup and it's like really difficult. But yeah, it was a nice time. In hindsight, yeah, good
I mean,
timing, I
now we
guess.
can say, but yeah, at that time, at least people grew good hair and all that. But yeah, like, okay, now that you pointed out, how did the seed of going to Copenhagen happen? Like, where did the idea come? Like, I want to move to this city in Germany, but I'm not sure where it is, but actually, like, in this side
Denmark.
of
Yeah.
Europe. Like, how did that seed come up?
Mm. Uh, Practically speaking, it came up when, so my girlfriend at the time, she wanted to go to design school, and this was 2017, 2018. She wanted to go to Copenhagen instead of interaction design. And so we
Hmm.
actually, I mean, another thing that was happening on the side was I was in a long distance relationship with her, and difficult. And then COVID also happened, so even more long distance. Now you can't even travel. But fine, we actually decided to get married in December 2020. So Ghana. Um, and so Ghana and I, we got married December 2020, and she had gotten a job in Copenhagen by then. So for me, it was kind of like, okay, now I do have a remote job now. I do have my own business, and so
I
I mean,
can
I
move.
can move on a spouse visa, and wow, luckily I am remote. And so we were able to kind of figure out, and we had to kind of start from scratch and redesign our life from zero from over here. And of course, I had just started 10K Designers 1 year before that. So, I mean, now I've spent more time working on 10K Designers here in Copenhagen than in India. But yeah, the first year of 10K Designers was COVID year 2020 in India. And yeah, ended up moving after that.
Okay, and okay, that again. Because like I see a lot of going with the flows, but I also see of always occasional stop where you're like, I don't want to do this, right?
Mm.
I think this I think we also talk a lot of time that you cannot always find that what you want to do, but you can always find what you know how to do and then go from there, right? Like this whole
Mm.
journey, you're like, I don't want to do Microsoft. Okay, what's the next? Freelancing. I don't want to do this again. I don't want to work freelance like sitting alone at home. What I want to do, I want to meet
You want
designers.
to code. It actually
Right,
probably
like
started with I don't want to
yeah, you
code.
look good,
And
right?
yes.
Yeah, like it's just not what I do. Okay, what's next? Not what I do. What's the option here, and here,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, it's interesting. I'll be very honest. I was expecting more of a drama kind of a story, right? Because it was very
Mm.
mysterious. I was like, okay, there's gonna be some stuff on that. But this
Yeah.
really, the whole college thing is really interesting. Because generally, if you go to some college like Manipal, right, you have a lot of history behind it. People will jump
Yeah.
on to going to an MNC or something like that because it
Mm.
definitely has that value with that college. But you're going to then obviously
True.
freelance route would be really. I
Mm.
think it was really different at that time. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. It was the thing is my demeanor I'm a little bit calm or whatever, but it was chaotic for sure. There was a lot of drama. Mostly because I feel like in Indian society, once you figure it out, you're not supposed to let something go, right? In the sense that like your identity is a very
yeah.
difficult thing. Like like just taking the JEE example or government services, there's a crazy hype for it. And of course, I've seen that hype also, like being at Unacademy, creating products for it. It's like there was a time when you were kind of born into like a family, whatever. You get your job, and then you stayed at that job till you retired. Like my granddad, he joined the steel factory. Like he was an engineer there, and he stayed there till he retired. Right. So identity was not something you had to keep earning over time. Like that's how I think also the thing with JE, like ek bar ho gaya, now you're an IITian, bro.
Huh.
Identity ban gayi life ke liye. Right. And so for me, once I started doing design, I was like, fuck, finally identity ban gayi. But then it kept breaking again and again, right? Like so for me, that was that realization that in today's time with the internet, of course, as creative people, we want to do a lot of stuff. Like we want to do everything, every shiny object, we want to run after it. But identity, your identity is not something you can take for granted. Like there's no guarantee that 2 years now you will have the same. You have to earn your identity every couple of years. And
Yeah.
drama, bro, like that's dramatic. It requires shifts. Like, yeah.
Yeah, you're talking to the ex purple guy, right? Like that's I was for a year I was known for that. And now I don't even talk about that name because the identity has just moved away and it's just upgrading. But yeah. Yeah, I think I won't take much of your time.
That's
I
the
think we have
hardest
enough
thing, bro.
for
That's the hardest thing. Like identity, gaining your identity in life. Like, and the reason I think college is I love that you're getting into some of these stories because a lot of them start in college. And college is a foundational time where you're supposed to figure out who you are going to be, right? Identity. But it's not the same anymore, given that we're in 2024 and it's not been the same for the last 2 decades. It's not a one time identity. You have to keep redefining yourself, which means you have to also be okay with letting go.
letting
The
go.
hardest thing a lot of times is letting go because you're like, bro, it took me so long to figure that out. And now you're telling me I have to start from zero and let go and start something else. Impossible, very difficult to do, and doesn't get
Also,
easier.
yeah, and also in India, I think recently someone talked about this topic, right? That in India, when you ask like, hey, who are you? They won't tell you your name or like where you're from or what do you do.
Mm.
They'll always tell your work. Hey, I'm a designer. Doesn't matter if they do skiing or do this or that, right? They'll always tell you that what they're doing at that time. And generally, I think most of us stick to that. Like you go to a party, you're like, hey, I'm Rahul, I'm a designer, I'm a brand designer, now
Mm.
a product designer,
Yeah.
right? That's the idea which stick in. And then suddenly you're like, you know what? You gotta let it go. It becomes like very tough to, as I said, like it's very tough to redefine it.
True.
And then
True.
people will find even niche into that identity. Like, okay, designer, this designer. Okay, and this designer, this designer.
Mm.
And then suddenly you have like,
Mm.
okay, I'm not this anymore. How do I deal with this? Because everyone knew me from this.
Yeah.
I have people who are connected to this identity. Like my friends, I have from the same
True.
field. For example, again, I think this whole identity also comes with the what you talk about. Like if you're, like
Mm.
I said, identity wise, you are working as design, right? You talk about design more. So your peers, your friends will become more designers. But then suddenly you went into, let's say, cloth, like printing, fabric printing.
NFT. Suddenly you're into NFTs or some shit,
Yeah,
and
right.
then
DJ your call.
friends are like, "What the fuck is going on, bro? Are you
Yeah, right.
hacked?"
Like,
Like,
and then suddenly changes. Nobody's talking about it anymore, and just it's just tough to do that. Yeah, I guess it is there.
yeah.
But yeah, like we've been talking for
But
the
what makes it
last
easier
half
is
hour.
the peers, right? It would be so hard, so much harder for me to have done what I did if I did not have the peers. Because then I would even more be second guessing ki bro, matlab like throughout this, a lot of times I gave up design, but never completely. Everything I was doing still needed that designer process or design eye of a way of doing things. And the reason was because I was like, I'm not alone in this. I'm not weird for doing this. And here's everybody else who's doing it.
Who's doing
Again,
it?
the flip side of that is, so what if everybody else is doing it? You still have to figure it out for yourself, right? It's a little bit multiplayer, but a lot of it is solo players sitting alone, hours spent in front of a screen. But getting comfortable with that I don't need somebody to give me an identity. I can earn my own identity. Is actually a very freeing space to be.
Hmm. And now that we talk about peers, I think 10K is a good. I think I will like to. I don't call it plug, but talk about that, right? Because one of the principles which I again, if you ask them, right, like where did you study college, they would tell you the friends they have from this college, right? Like Manipal is a great example. I have a friend who is from Manipal, and he recently started a comedy called Manipal Mafia, where
Yeah,
all the friends
heard
from
about it.
Manipal is in that group and they're discussing, right?
Yeah, I'm in the group as well, bro.
Ah,
Yeah,
nice. I'm designing the logo, so you'll see. But but yeah, like
yeah.
that's how the whole thing is, right? And then when we went online, right, we already were finding friends on Discord. But then education wise, that was not happening much, right? Like you're still studying online with school friends, but you're not meeting them
Mm.
regularly in that way. The friendship has not went online in that way that okay, in at school you are sitting together with 5 6 hours, right? You're doing activities and all that, so the friendship is different. So I think with
Yeah.
10K, that peer thing happened. Like you have designer friends who study, and again we have activities. I mean, in Discord and like that, where they interact much more with each other. The pods and everything is there. So I think I would
Mm.
love to know about your thought on the whole peer thing in 10K, like how you're doing that.
Mm. I think it's a core part. We've had it from the very beginning, this whole peers concept. And my like from a product perspective, if I had to give you the UX angle on this, at Unacademy we realized that the best retention rates, the best learning experience was enabled by live sessions. Like we're doing this live right now. We found that compared to pre-recorded videos, live performed way better because it created that accountability habit. It created that repeatability of you see these people in the chat or wherever, and it's a little bit closer to how actual school operates as well. So that was from the UX perspective. I was like, whatever we design needs to be live. Like, I'm not going to record a single session. Everything will be live, right? Even till date, some people are surprised by this, by the way, but every single 10K designer session is live, and I
Yeah.
teach it personally, right? Um, which is the traditional advice to me was, automate yourself, like delegate this thing, remove yourself from the process, record it once, and move on, like grow the business or something like that, right?
Varun is coming in my mind. Make an AI of yourself.
Yeah, pretty much. Or hire other instructors, replace this, do this, like grow a business. But to
Correct.
me, I was like, I know from a learning experience, from an outcomes perspective as well, your people are not coming here for content. They're coming here actually for the accountability, which is number one, from this day, all of us are starting. Like we are starting this cohort journey. We're all on the starting line.
And together.
That's something you don't get normally, which is when you're online, everybody has a different level of experience. So you're starting out. That's what makes the cohort, that start and end date. And we've also realized that live is the core part of it. So live creates the accountability. The mentors we have this thing called pods where we have two mentors, 7 to 8 members. We create a pod. This kind of becomes a simulator type experience. Like how there's flight simulator, you need to put in certain number of hours before you can actually fly a plane. So we've kind of created that simulator type of environment where it's inside Discord. So it's kind of like how you would be in a Slack team with few other people. They're
Hmm.
working on their own stuff. There's also a senior designer and there's a way more senior designer. So we created that entire environment. And now, of course, 7 cohorts in, we've been refining that, making it tighter, tighter, tighter. You know, just the traditional product process of iterating. Every cohort improves slightly on certain factors. But yeah, peers are a big part of it, right? We did not want to create a single player experience. The experience of going to Udemy or Coursera today is you press play and you're like, nobody knows I press play. Nobody even knows I'm here. Versus when you go to school, everybody knows you're there. Like there's a
You're
feeling of
there.
presence, a feeling of we're all in this. Um,
I think
versus
I
you
can.
open a tab, you're logged into Coursera, it's like what? You're not going to learn alone. Like you
Hmm.
can, and it's not bad. It's okay. But that accountability thing, I can't show up to see. Here's the simple way, right? Would I show up to college if I knew my friends were not showing up? No, I wouldn't.
Also, if they're not acquiring, like inquiring about me, like, so I had my share of cohorts, like I've studied in few, right? And if you have missed 2 classes, right, and if they are recorded, you'll obviously miss the third one because now you don't have context. And someone not, if there's someone who doesn't follow up with you, you won't even go back, and you'll lose the whole cohort, the whole momentum, and all that, right? But with this pods, because they're mentors, they're people who know that okay, Rahul was there. Rahul was not in the last class. Where was he? Because we have to do assignment together and all that, right? That becomes like, you follow up, hey Rahul, where you are? Like, why not in the class for the last 2-3 days? What's happening, right? And then it goes into that direction. And learn,
Mm,
obviously, you learn from there.
true. And I think given that COVID also happened, a lot of people are now very comfortable with online learning. Um, and of course, schools tried their best to shift online. They weren't exactly able to make it happen. But yeah, we've had 7 cohorts to really refine it. It's not just a Zoom session. And yeah, the Unacademy experience definitely helped as well. Because
Yeah, I think.
literally my day job at that time was try out every single education platform in the world, distill down insights. In fact, that's when I started UI sources as well. Because I was like trying out hundreds of apps, at that point.
And now there's more. Like there's ton of those kind of curation websites and apps.
Mm,
I think, yeah. I mean, I think that's a whole good story, and I think I know
true.
now. I feel I know you more. Right. This is like this is where it's selfish for me to do these podcasts because I know these people online. I have met them. I have talked with them.
Mm,
But I think after these episodes, I feel more connected. Like I have seen them from school to like where they are right now. Like so, I have that more context now, right? So that's, I think
mm,
audience will also now know you more, not just 10K, but also
yeah.
a person who did like got this much in JE, who had a back in the first year of college, right? Because again, I think Indian audience put their teachers to a pedestal. Like, okay, teachers are here, right? But they need to know, like, yeah, back happened also.
True, true.
Get
Yeah,
the
man.
humans.
True, true. It's never so linear, right? We would like things to be ideal, but you have to be in the mindset where you're like, it could fall apart right now, and
Right
I'm gonna
now.
have to figure it out. We all go through that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll just take some questions, and then we'll announce the winners of the scholarship. By the way, I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but thank you, Abhinav, for sponsoring that. Uh, Two more designers, three more designers in the scene, definitely helpful.
Yes.
So, everyone, if you have a question, drop them right now in the chat. We'll take over the next few
Yeah.
minutes. Yeah. Oh, you can't see the chat. I have to learn the Ecamm multiplayer way.
Yeah, man. Pick some questions we can definitely talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, there's this question from Akhilesh. Uh, I mean, I think this kind of questions you generally get a lot, but I'm just gonna again go. Akhilesh is asking, I want to become a UX designer, but I don't know where to start learning, how to develop skills and get an internship.
YouTube University is where do you start, right? Definitely just start on YouTube. I would not even say Coursera, Udemy, and all this. You can definitely do that later, but YouTube is definitely the place to start. Rahul's channel, you can check out some stories if you're kind of stuck there. My channel, it's AB and UX. Look that up. We started a new 10K designers channel as well, I think sometime last month. So you can search for 10K designers on YouTube. You'll start seeing some stuff. My suggestion to anybody who wants to start is number one, understand this field. Like I think most people, the problem they have starting out is they're overwhelmed by resources. So the first thing you need to do is you need to orient yourself. You need to understand, okay, this is the path that I can take. This is what it looks like. This is what I can commit to doing for 3 months or 6 months. But figure out the accountability thing. I think that's a big thing as well. Resources is one thing, but accountability is another. How do you make that happen? Um, but yeah, use the internet. That's the easy way. I know it's not so straightforward. I told my own like twisty story. You will have your own twists, but
But now I think it's easier cause like people like you, there are like Sapta that runs a YouTube channel, right? Ansh, who was in White FM, right? Like he's running his own YouTube channel, where there's so much content available that if you want to learn, you can learn. Akhilesh, just to add in what Abhinav said, obviously YouTube is there. There, if you go on Twitter, there are also Discord communities who learn together and do daily tasks or monthly tasks, something like that, right? Like check challenges, who can also keep you accountable if you want to try that, right? So look into that. One of the ones I know is called Design Drug. Check that out on Twitter. The last episode we did with Atul had that, so that would be there. But yeah, I think then we have Vishwajit, who's asking a question again. I think this is where long form I mean need to be in short form, and I've been begging you to make that, like, cut your stream into short videos, because the answer I have seen given in long form the question comes back again always, right? The question, which is this, that I'm working on my first case study and wanted to get an internship in a startup. My question is, what startup really expect from us as an intern?
so guys, I of course don't like just plugging my own thing as answers. But the basic thing, Akhilesh. So the previous one was Akhilesh. Akhilesh, we actually also have a design crash course playlist on the Abnux channel. So maybe start with that. Um, for internship and figure it out, I would say something you can do is check out the 10K Designers channel. We've been doing live streams for the last few weeks. Every Friday we go live. We have a few more episodes coming. But these live streams are specifically portfolio and case study reviews. Actually, not portfolio reviews, but case study reviews. So what you'll get to do in this is you'll get to see some design projects that actually got people hired. And so that's, again, no guarantee it'll happen to you as well, but that's one data point, right? Outside of that, the main thing to do, bro, is your portfolio. It's your case studies. To do the portfolio, you need case studies. To do the case studies, you need to do projects. To do projects, you need to learn the tools, right? So it starts there.
Yeah, I've dropped link to both 10K Design Channel and Abhinav's the course, and you can go through there and see there. And we have Bhavya who's asking about When was the time you felt during your work that this is a moment to bring on the next gen of designer into the space?
Um, it was not one moment as such, but there were multiple moments where I felt like, actually, the main thing is there have been a few moments in my life where I was like, if I don't do this, there's a chance nobody else does this.
Hmm.
Right. And I always look out for these because these are one of one opportunities, right? And they're rare. They don't always come up. So, for example, when I was at housing for the music app, right? Once we actually made that app, I was like, wow, like this, like, we have something very unique on our hands. And if we don't do this, maybe nobody else will. Similarly, I had a similar moment where I was like, the book Pajama Profit, I was like, wait, we have this experience. And, we know nobody else in college was doing this. We're assuming if Manipal didn't have other freelancers, other colleges probably don't have that much of a scene either. So we're like, fuck, this is a unique thing for us. So, and similarly with 10K designers, after spending so much time in education, like online education, Unacademy, after spending so much time as a designer, like all paths, like freelance, self, founder, everything, I felt again for the first time uh, for this. But I was like, dude, I think I need to do this. I think I need to go all in because, you know, ever since I've gotten started designer, I've not seen any design schools as such. Nobody's actually starting a design school. In fact, nobody was even starting YouTube channels back then. And so to me, it was like, fuck, I need to do this. And I like these kind of opportunities. And I would suggest for folks, try to keep an eye out. Because for these kind of things, it's also you don't have competition in some ways. If nobody else is doing it, or uniquely in a position where you're like, fuck, like I see everything, but why is there nobody doing it? Like that's a one of one opportunity. For me, um, that's kind of what happened. Yeah.
God, I think yeah, I think those are the questions we had. Yeah, Sai had a very good question, which was that what are the important steps in the roadmap to learn product design?
Good question, Sai. We have a video on my channel. It's called Complete Roadmap to Learn UI UX Design. It's got about, I think, 120K, 150K views by now. I would definitely suggest checking that out.
Yeah, I think roadmap wise the way like the YouTube is full. If you just search design roadmap, you'll get a ton of videos. I think I recently even like going through the design YouTube and I was like, okay, yeah, this is the data which is available. But again, the whole thing is everyone's trying to present it in a better way with the new flow, with the new story, with the new structure and like that. So yeah, cool. I think this is a good opportunity now that you're talking about product design to talk about how what's it like who are the winners, right, of the scholarship, right? Obviously, I'm going to post them on Twitter, but we had one recently ask a question, so I would love to just announce them.
Yeah,
And
bro.
yeah, well, first of all, I'm really, really thankful for you and the whole 10K fam to just allow me to do this, right? Two more people,
Grateful, guys.
and
Yes.
I mean, we were there while choosing these people. I think
Mm.
deserving people.
Yeah. And for folks who don't have the full context, basically every cohort, we try to create a scholarship pool. So one of the collaborations we did was with Rahul, where we got on a call and we were like, what can we do collectively to help some more designers out there? And so for this, with Rahul, we're sponsoring 3 people with an 80% scholarship to enroll in the next cohort. And yes, those are the winners we're talking about. If you're just hearing about this, you're like, oh, fuck, I missed it. Keep an eye out for the next one. Right? Next year, when the next cohort happens, we'll probably do a similar thing again. But yeah, Rahul,
Yeah,
you're
so I
ready to
mean,
announce. So.
they can see on the screen. So right now we are announcing two people. Right, one's still keeping in our bag, but congratulations, Sai and Bhavya. Sai is here, Bhavya is here. Congratulations to both of you. I'm really excited to see what you do in the cohort, and thank you, Abhinav, for giving this opportunity to them.
Absolutely. Looking forward to seeing you in the cohort. And we do have a third winner as well. We'll probably announce that some other time.
On that, that's gonna be on Twitter. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming. It was really great, Abhinav, hearing your story. So thank you so much for doing this live.
Thank you for inviting me, bro. Yes.
Yeah, and now we know Abhinav more. Like I think this is Abnuk's square, not two but square. Like we would know more about it now.
Yeah. Cool, guys. See you.
Thank you,
Keep
everyone.
designing and stay
Thank you.
creative.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.